That's pretty good. Well, everybody, it's time to begin. I'm sure you guys know how our grades look. We've been doing, usually Scotty has been doing a crap ton of tier lists with me. But just in case that you don't know, we have a grading system from A to F. 8 being the best bombs in the set, just something you're gonna completely change your draft for a lot of times. Just warp the game around themselves, or such good build arounds, such good tempo tools that they can take over the game in the early game, or if you build your deck a little bit differently. The B grades, everything in B is either overstated creature for its mana cost, or undercosted removal, undercosted something. It's basically undercosted cards. You would expect to pay more for these kind of effects. It could be a simple card like a creature with a lot of stats. It could be something complex. C, that's gonna be most of your deck. It's gonna be, C minus would be something like a filler. C plus would be a pretty good card to have in your deck, but not quite there to be one of the better picks in the format that most Bs would be, since As are reserved for just a couple of cards in the format. These are gonna be your filler cards. We're gonna have some in this set. Some there's more cards that looked like filler to me in this one, since it is a little bit more fundamental core setty. Not like old core sets, but also not as high power level as the limited that we have been getting in the last couple of years. But yeah, every deck, most of the decks, just you need to have some Ds in your deck. If you have a lot of them, something went wrong, or maybe you got a couple of As, couple of bombs, and you're fine having a weaker deck to play some game warping cards. Fs are basically unplayable cards. These are ones that we think you should never put in the deck. They are usually not worth a full card. Maybe it's 2-for-1 for the opponent while you're playing. Maybe it's just losing your tempo too much, losing your card advantage too much. So yeah, don't play these. Maybe it's a build around for constructed. That's gonna be a lot of it. We have the pluses and minuses, just so it's because a lot of cards are gonna be in B, C, and D, so it's easier for us to grade. And then we also have sometimes ceilings if we think card is a crazy good build around, but not always good in a deck, and we put something there like a higher grade, so you guys can maybe think about it when you see the card. Also, when we are doing the multicolor cards, we are gonna be having 2 grades. One grade is gonna be, this one for multicolor cards, like one grade is like how highly we think we are taking the card before we know we are in the color. And in color grade, on the right, we are gonna do it together, average it out, is gonna be the grade when we know like that we are Azorius. Okay, a lot of Azorius cards just go way higher in how high you pick them. But some of these multicolor cards, you just take them and you're in those colors. And that's about it. Sometimes if you're drafting best of 3, if some cards are really good in the sideboard, we might give it a sideboard just an X, not a grade, just so you think about taking those. That's about it. And let's begin. We have multicolor cards. We are gonna go over these before the actual colors, just to kind of give you an idea on what the color pairs are about, or better to say what Wizards wants the colored pairs to be about. We are gonna see if we actually agree with that. So yeah, colors cards, I mean, nothing to mention, nothing special. Fixing seems like it's gonna be kind of fine, and that's about it. Siggy, wanna lead?
Yep. Yeah, I can read this one. Empyrean Eagle, 2/3, flyer for blue-white 1. Other creatures you control with flying get +1/+1. Like I said, I've done a few simulation drafts or whatever, and my blue-white decks did seem to end up with a fair number of flyers. So this does seem to fit that. To me, this is like a B-. I'm always going to play it. I'm always going to be happy to play it. I'm not going to get super drawn into I'm not going to get super drawn into the color combination from this card, though. It's kind of just like oh, this is nice. Like this is a good reason. Like, you know, if I have a bunch of blue cards and there's a good removal spell in this, it's kind of they're kind of comparable to me, depending on what the rest of my pack is. If I have a lot of flyers, maybe I'll be more happy to play this. If I have a lot of card draw, I'm going to want the removal spell. B- to me, I think. Good card. not super above rate on its own, but if it pumps literally anything else, it is above rate.
There is like a lot of flyers in blue-white, more than usual, I think. Like there is a Healer's Hawk, 1/1 flying lifelink.
Yeah, but is it like, are you going to want to play Healer's Hawk? This isn't a good reason. I mean, if you have a lot of these, sure, but.
Well, that's a beautiful card with the pick that I'm gonna play a ton.
That is true. That is true.
That's like amazing with a pick. And I am gonna play pick a lot, so I think I'm gonna be playing Healer's Hawks. Yeah, I'm okay drafting like a lot of picks and a lot of Healer's Hawks.
And some Eagles.
Yeah,
I'm not unhappy to have.
Well, that sounds pretty good, but I don't know how many of these you can actually get in the deck. Is there anything else, like any other really good flyer? I mean, there are other flyers. Nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing really above rate. They're all kind of kept in check for this. There's a 5-drop 3/4 blue flyer that looks pretty decent. That loots when it comes into play or something.
Yeah, that seems alright, but also kind of 3/4 as a flyer. What do you give this?
I gave it a B minus.
B minus. That seems fine. Like, by the way, we are giving this grade cards, multicolor cards grades when you don't know if you're in that color, and then like we have a separate grade when we are in color. We're gonna average it out. We're gonna decide together on the second grade. But the first one, yeah, I'm okay with a B minus. But what do you think in color? Like when you know that you're Azorius, what would you give it?
It's only a slight bump, I think.
Like a B?
Yeah, like a B. It's certainly not a bomb, so we can't go any higher than that. And I don't think it's quite a B plus. So I would give it a B when you're in color, B minus when you're not. You're still gonna have to take this early. So
yeah, B seems fine. B minus like when you don't know, but because it really this gets so good in multiples. And last time we said
that is the other thing early. That is one big drawing point to this is this is very specifically a gold card that any use you can get.
As many. All right. The in color grade goes in under the ceiling, by the way. And can you read the next one? Because I'm gonna just filter it for you, the Tierlist, so it's easier for you to write.
It goes under the ceiling. You mean so like we give it a B for this? Sorry, I was the set number.
Oh, no. The ceiling is just on the right of your grade, the next column. Wait, I'm gonna show you.
Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
The other things you didn't touch, right?
No.
Cool. So it doesn't break.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Ooh, all right. Yep. So only one grade for gold cards in general, right? Between.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait. 1 second. We are getting. Let me change the way this goes. Rarity. 1 second. This I think ain't gonna work, right? Yeah, I think they changed something on the site. Oh, there we go. I'm just gonna do this. Do you wanna do this by color then? Just so they are.
However you want to do it, I'm totally fine with.
The number doesn't work. Oh, never mind. We're just gonna do it as it goes. Whoop. Okay. Then we are not gonna have them the Azorius cards together, but I don't think I can sort by number. Yeah, I don't think I can change this so we have both of them together. Next up, Dreadwing Scavenger. Can you read it? I'm making a filter for you.
Dreadwing Scavenger is a 2/2 for blue, black, 1. Flying, when it enters or attacks, draw a card and discard a card. Threshold means if you have 7 cards in your graveyard, it gets +1/+1 and has Death Touch. This is quite like. I actually misread this card when I was reading it before because I thought it was only when it enters it looted, but when it attacks as well, That's big because it's enabling itself. So it's a self-enabling, you know, to turn it into a 3/3. The whole point of blue black is supposed to be threshold. I mean, it seemed like that when I drafted it a little bit in the sim. Like, yeah, there's some uncommons that really gravitate you towards that, but in general, you're just going to want to be a value oriented deck, I think. But this card seems quite good to me. It's at least at the level of the Eagle. To me, I think it's going to be pretty easy to turn it into a 3/3 in the mid game. And the fact that you're getting to discard excess lands, and this is a set where I feel like the games are going to go pretty long. So every spell, like every time you draw a spell over a land, past your fifth or sixth land or whatever, it is literally like drawing a card. If this is able to get in a few attacks, it's going to really allow you to play opponent. So I don't know. I like this. I'm going to give it kind of the same rating. I'd give it a B minus outside of color, ceiling. I guess a B as well. It's basically where the Eagle is, where I'm going to be quite happy to have it in my blue. Not going to really look to splash it though.
There are a lot of flyers, so that's a little bit more problematic in this set. But the free looting is so powerful.
Yeah, that 0 mana looting every turn.
Yeah, like in the early game, it can. I mean, it may be the best card that you need. You talked about getting flooded. That's true, especially if there is not that much flood protection. But getting too many, getting not enough lands, like maybe the land is the best card that you need, and it does trigger threshold on its own. It helps you get there. It just enters, and then every time you attack. I think this is super powerful, extremely powerful. I think I'm gonna just start it as a B. I think that even if you, I think this pulls me. Okay, I want to be Dimir, and it's like okay, yeah.
No, I agree. It does more so than the Eagle does.
But we can have it, if you want to have it as a ceiling as a B, let's have it as a B as well. Same like my grade.
Yeah. I think ceiling. Yeah, I mean, you could talk me into a B plus ceiling, but I don't.
I want to talk you into that.
I'm
okay
reserve
splashing.
that for rares that are not quite bombs, but yeah.
Like A's are bombs. B plus is like super efficient for its cost, and I'm okay splashing this card. I'm gonna splash this card.
Yeah, I think you and I have. Like, I don't like splashing Bookworm. I don't even like splashing Brood Spinner.
Yeah.
Very much. No, because I like these cards earlier in the game. And I think they lose a lot of their luster when you're playing them in the middle of the game. Bookworm is an exception in that if you're able to actually draw cards from it. But generally, I want my cards to be played on curve.
Mm-hmm.
My splashes to be played on curve. So it'll be, gold cards that I'm splashing. Something like a Tatioba, where I'm going to reliably get to cast it on curve. I could, like, if my fixing's really good, I will splash this. It's just I'm not going to go out of my way too far.
It does get death touch as well. Like if you play it a bit later, then it could be a 3/3 death toucher.
Yep.
It's not that easy to get the threshold here like it would be in Duskmorn. That's 100%.
Yeah, there's just not enough card draw and stuff like that. Even cards like Think Twice are in the set, but that's going to leave your graveyard, right?
Bookworm, you didn't like splashing. It's sometimes your green has like it on turn 4. It has like 6 sources of the splashed color with the centipedes, right? And some other cards, but mostly.
If you get enough centipedes and stuff, it's pretty easy. But I didn't like to steer my draft in a direction where I had to take cards just to facilitate something else. I reserved it for like bomby rares and stuff.
Even in kinda aggressive Gruul decks, I splashed for a Bookworm because it gets me the Delirium faster as well. And it's like at one point it's so much card draw, so I really liked it. I think Bookworm is better than this.
Yes. Bookworm is very clearly better than this.
Yeah.
Of course, it was in a higher power set too. So
we're
comparing apples to oranges at that point. But yeah,
I think this could be the Bookworm of this set, for this power level.
It's similar. Yeah. It never actually draws you raw cards is the issue.
And that the Bookworm can also draw cards when you flip, so it's not only when you manifest Dread. And it doesn't have to do anything, right? The bookworm just chills out and...
Exactly. It doesn't need to have a clear pathway to attack and stuff. So
And
the bookworm is clearly more powerful than this, but it's, you know, this is going to have a similar effect on the low end of the bookworm, right? The looting every turn is really good.
Like a couple of these, that's a clock. Like they become death touchers really quick. Like you play 2 of these on board, which is gonna happen sometimes, I guess. And like
yeah, of course, yeah. It'll happen quite frequently. Like not quite frequently, but like if you're really looking to draft a me or whatever, you're gonna have plenty of decks with 2 of these.
Yeah, and they become 3/3 death touchers so fast, and your draws are so consistent, right? This doesn't have to. This can trade, but then it already looted twice. I don't know. I love it. By the way, I have. Did your tier list change?
Oh, sorry. No. All right. You want me to? Sorry. What's the name?
You didn't input these, right? The previous ones.
No, they're like. Yeah, no, they're like one number down, so I got confused for a second. But and so for this ceiling, we're going to be.
Is your tier list fixed now? Is your tier list only multicolor cards now?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
It is.
Remind me to change that for you when we go to white.
Okay, I'll try to remember.
Okay, so wait, we gave the eagle. I gave it
a B at ceiling. We gave this one a B as well,
and a B- for out of color grades, right? For the eagle.
Yeah. B- for the eagle, and this one I guess is just a B.
I'm on a B.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna B as well. Yeah, I just said B all around for this.
All right. Because some of these, like what I've noticed, like when I started doing the tier lists and when I was grading multicolor cards, I was kind of down on them quite a lot. And the more I play, the more I'm fine picking multicolored cards and just jumping into the color or especially splashable multicolored cards. I don't know why. Before, I was very hesitant, but it could be that before the multicolor cards were much weaker, right? So it was not worth it to go.
Some of them certainly were. They have definitely ramped them up. Like one of them, they were very powerful in Duskmourn, but what they did that was kind of, in my opinion, brilliant with it was they made them lower. Like they weren't 5 and 6 drops that were splashable in every deck.
Yeah.
So a lot of people weren't looking to take Bookworm early if they already had, a red card or whatever. They weren't going to be like, oh, well, this is a red, this is a blue-green gold card that I can just splash if I'm blue.
And then everybody takes it, even if your color is open.
Exactly. So then the drafts just kind of draft themselves, right? Like you're just like, all right, powerful gold card I can put in any red or blue deck. It's kind of like more of an artifact than anything else. So I really liked how they designed Duskmourn for that reason. And this set is kind of similar, right? We're seeing a lot of 3 drops.
Everything was 3 drops so far. I got a 3 drop. In Duskmourn, like I have slowly changed. Like I was like, okay, I don't want to splash for Bookworm, for example, and for Brute Spinner, I always wanted to splash. But as I played it, I was slowly changing towards splashing for some cheaper cards because I am kind of used to, okay, if it costs a lot, has a crazy effect in the late game, that's where I'm super fine splashing it. But sometimes mana is so good that you get some cheaper cards in. But yeah, I think we are at the time now where it's more safer to pick the multicolor cards earlier and see if you're in that color. Because usually they are a lot more powerful than the commons and uncommons in color. At least most of them. So before they were powerful, but it was not that big of a difference in most sets, I think, for most cards. So the grades that I'm giving to the multicolor cards, just the base grades are higher. They don't need to be like, oh, you gotta splash this, then that's why it's high. Before, only the splashable cards I gave a high out of color rating, because then you just pick them at any point, as you said, and play them. Can you read the next one? I'm just gonna get some water.
Yep. We got Perforating Artist, black red 1 for a 3/2 death touch. Has raid at the beginning of your end step. If you attack this turn, each opponent loses 3 life, unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. Yeah, so this is like this one's uh, unique, right? We haven't had a card like this at least in a while that has a raid effect while it's just kind of sitting in play. Um, it's going to be very easy to trigger this the turn you play it, right? You play your 2-drop, you attack, you play this thing, you get a trigger. Um, Generally, that's especially early in the game, that's going to be 3 damage. So, like a 3/2 haste with Death Touch or something, right? Because you're going to get that. But then you're getting more as the game goes on. I'm a little bit reluctant to put this in the same category as the last 2 cards. It would be closer to the Eagle than the looting bird to me. And I already pointed out with Rogue's Passage, this is like when I think of Rogue's Passage, I think of this card now. They combine very well together. You can really clock your opponent. The problem with this card I have and why I think it's probably a little worse than it feels or looks to me is there's a lot of tokens. There's going to be a lot of, like I said, it's a slower set. You're going to draw too many lands in a lot of games that you're just going to be able to discard for this. Sometimes at an advantage to yourself if you're got Threshold in your deck, right? Oh, I have this land, I have no way to put it in my graveyard. Now I've triggered Threshold because of this thing. So I don't know. I'm going to give this one a B minus. I think it's worse than the other 2 gold cards. Definitely better than generic filler though. I mean, every turn if this thing is triggering, it's pretty crazy. But again, it's one of those cards that also doesn't block very well. It'll trade very well, but you're not going to get the raid thing when you're doing that, right? So to me, this is a B minus.
B like a boat.
Yeah.
So wait, did you say that it's better than the general filler, but you gave it like a B minus? Is a really good grade, right?
Yeah, no, it's good. What I'm saying, it's good. It's about on par, I would say, with on color removal or something. But it's not a card where I'm going to see this in a pack and be super excited about to pivot into it, right? But it is a card I'm going to be very happy to play in my black-red deck.
The question is going to be how easy it is gonna how easy of a time you're gonna have attacking with creatures that are not this, like 2-drops, 1-drops, right?
Yeah.
So it can start doing things. It's and as the game goes on, because like if this is gonna be, I mean, if this is
In
a
my
3,
opinion, you're going to get in my opinion, on average, you're going to get two triggers out of this thing when you cap trigger because you're almost always going to get the first trigger.
this is also really good in multiples.
Yep, it is a card that, sort of, because you're like, if you're playing this on turn 3 and turn 4, it's going to be really hard to attack with your 3-drop. That was this and trigger it, right? So.
Like if this card says 3 mana 3/2 death touch, opponent loses 3 life. I think that's what it's gonna be most of the time. Right? Like at its worst you're not gonna be attacking, but a lot of times I think you are just gonna be attacking. And I mean 3 mana 3/2, obviously it's not that, but if it's a 3 mana 3/2 death touch, opponent loses 3 life, that's amazing. Right? Nothing else. That's enough.
Yeah.
And that's what it's gonna be in the developing phases, right?
Yeah, in the developing phase, yep, absolutely.
And later on, like it's still gonna trade anything, but could be worse.
As the game progresses, when it gets worse, yeah, like you get the raid mechanic on this gets much worse as the game progresses because there's, extra lands in your opponent's hand, random tokens that aren't really doing anything. Keep in mind, this is very bad against your favorite card.
What's my favorite card?
The pick, just random treasures laying around that could get sacrificed.
Oh, this is very bad against the pick. Is going up in value. Oh yeah, that's true. That is true. But but sometimes it's gonna be like if you're a good aggressive deck, right? This might get even better in late game, right? Because then they cannot pay 3 life.
No, but they'll generally have. Well, it's going to be completely game state and opponent's deck dependent. But there might be a treasure laying around. Like how many triggers you really think you're going to get before you just win the game, right? If you're able to trigger this thing that much, you're attacking that much, the game's probably ending. The triggers don't really matter that much. Also, they just can always keep an extra land in their hand. and should with this card in existence. Just to discard so that, you know, if the land's not providing you any real value, then
it's completely different card. You know the Stick Twister from DSK? Different card, but kind of similar effect. The 2/2 that if it has Delirium, it deals damage to their face. 2/2 lifelinker, you know, the black one. 2/2 artifact for 2 mana. If you have Delirium, it deals 2 damage.
Oh, yeah. The Scarecrow. Yeah,
the Scarecrow, yeah.
The lifelink, yeah.
And that one, like, I've had games where either I or the opponent, like, we just didn't have cards in hand. And in that set, it also, you have some enchantments to sack, rooms that you don't care about anymore. But there have been a lot of games where just like, you don't have cards.
There was a lot more to that card, though. That card gave you life, which was huge.
Yeah.
That came up to me often.
Yeah.
The life, like, it swung races for me many times.
And you didn't have to attack.
Yeah, you didn't have to attack. So
you could have just shield. Yeah, you could have buffed it as well for more. Yeah, I'm okay with it being minus.
Yeah, to me, it's you know, on par with the Eagle, but maybe slightly worse. If I had to pick one of the two cards, I would actually probably pick this because of color preference, but that's besides the point. In terms of power level, I think this is about the same as the Eagle, but it's worse than the Avon or whatever it was.
Worse than the Scavenger?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with the B minus. I think it's gonna be very well performing in red black. Ceiling, I mean, B in color? Is it a B in color?
Yeah. Yes, I would give it a B in color.
Yeah, you would? Okay. I'm thinking like maybe just a B minus in color, but yeah, B seems fine. Next up, we got you writing the grades.
Oh no! Well, I did. I got all the other ones. I didn't get that one. I think I got all the other ones. Yeah. Sorry. What was the other one?
Yeah, take your time. No problem. It's like I'm gonna remind you or write it down if I forget. We didn't write one land. We're gonna do it later. Rabbi Daring Tracker for a red and a green. We have a 1/2 with haste, and whenever this attacks while you control a creature with power 4 or greater, this gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and it can tap for red or green mana. I mean, this has been great in the past. I think it's gonna be pretty good again. The question is, how good is Gruul gonna be?
How good is Gruul gonna be? Yeah, Gruul looks kind of awful to me, but maybe it's okay. Like, it'll be a lot better in best of one or whatever when you're just curving out, casting giant growths or whatever. But there's a lot of support for this ferocious, I think is the keyword archetype. So this is a lot of the times this is going to be, you know, turn 2 play, attack for 1, turn 3 you're going to attack for 3 with it or whatever. There's going to be times where you use this to, you know, ramp out your 4 mana 4/3 or whatever it is.
Double spell on turn 2.
Double spell on turn 2. I don't think we'll.
Oh, on turn 3. On turn 3. Sorry, on turn 3.
No, well, no, yeah, even that. I mean, double spell on turn 2 is a possibility too, I guess. But I don't think you're going to really want to build your deck in a way that you're double spelling on turn 3 a lot in red green.
Yeah, not like you always have a good amount of 2-drops, no?
You're going to have a decent amount, but you really want to be able to you really want to hit, like, your 3 and 4 drops are kind of important because you really want a 4 power and creature play all the time, and you want to be able to attack all the time still. Does not seem like a kind of deck you're going to be able to grind out your opponent. You're going to really need to curve out and leverage tempo and stuff like that. Like Giant Growth seems like a great card, for instance, to push through damage. There's like random 4/2s. There's a lot of 4/2s. There's a 2-drop 4/2. There's a couple of 3-drop 4/2s, I believe, and stuff like that. So I see this as like a card that's a lot of the times going to be a 3-power attacker that's hard to block, but also has the ability of tapping for mana. But I think more often I'm more excited about how this is an above rate 2-drop than it is a card that's going to help me cast my
yeah.
But it's going to do both. So I mean, it's kind of in the same category as the rest of these gold cards. It seems pretty well balanced with the other ones we've seen. I think this is I would give it a B.
I would give it a B base grade, and
yeah,
in color B, sure. Yeah. The problem, I think that it's not a big problem, right? But a little bit is that 4 power or greater, it kind of starts, that archetype starts at uncommons, not at commons. So, but it's not like oh, I'm sad to put four power creatures in my deck if I don't have ferocious.
Exactly. Yeah. The uncommons are the payoffs, right? There's plenty of
Yeah.
commons that facilitate it. That's the way I see it. Like
Exactly.
this card itself is a payoff. You're already going to have the rest, is the way I see it. So this is kind of, oh, I can tap this for mana. You can double spell with it, like you said. You can double spell with it just because it has haste.
Equip the pick.
Discount, right?
You, your pick helps you get there as well.
Yeah, yes, the pick does help you get there.
Yeah, okay, so B minus B seems good.
Yep.
All right. You read the next one?
Sorry, and then I'll read it. What the?
What's the name? The name is Ruby Daring Tracker.
Yeah, Ruby Daring. Yeah,
I can read the next one. Good Fortune Unicorn for 1 and a red. Well, for 1 and a white and a green. It's a 2/2 for 3 mana. But whenever another creature control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. Oh, it's so weak on its own. Siggy, this is. I'm always afraid of 3 mana 2/2s that you kind of need to play on curve.
Yeah, that is my thing. This is to me is the worst one that we've seen.
Yes,
there is some token support with it, which is nice.
Mm.
You can curve this into a 2/2, there's a 2/2 vigilance that makes a 1/1 or whatever. That's 5 power on turn 4. It's out of a 3-drop. I'm always very skeptical. My viewers know this. I'm very skeptical of green white in general in limited. Almost always, unless it is very clearly heavily supported. It is generally just the cards don't work very well together.
Why do you think they don't work? The main thing. What's your main thing? Main gripe about it?
The main thing about it is, well, there's a few things. That's why it tends to be bad. It's not just one thing, but the removal is inefficient. The creatures themselves do not really support each other, right? Like green is trying to play big, over curve creatures, and white is kind of playing like, trickier, smaller creatures that are either evasive or have some kind of comes into play ability. And it's kind of really easy to pick apart the green creatures with removal and then just block the white creatures is what it always is. And you just run out of cards. Like almost always in Selesnya, you flood out in the middle of the game because you just don't have mana sinks. You don't have whatever it is. It's a huge combination of things. The token support is usually what green white looks to, but if it's not supported in that well enough, you end up with like just sloppy curves and pile of creatures and combat tricks and just no real strong reason. And the gold cards are often pretty weak too. For me, the
biggest thing, if I would have to say one thing, I agree with those, but it's that it's usually sometimes it just works well, but usually it's not that good at being aggressive, and basically never it's good at playing a slower game. So
yep, exactly.
Like usually in the deck, I think you need to have one of those. Rarely there is a deck that pops off in mid game. Like for example, like Gruul in Duskmourn, right? You kind of pop off in mid game you get Delirium for your cards for your 2-drops and so on. But it's usually like you gotta be good at aggression, and aggression in limited is basically mid range, right? You're not winning like you did on turn 3. It's like you have better early game than the others. So any deck that doesn't have one of these two that is doing particularly well, it's just like, why would I play the deck? That's usually the question. Why not play some good aggressive deck or some good slow deck rather than that one? This one I'm just, I don't know, man. Is C of when it's C minus? I think I'm just giving it a C minus.
I would give it a C, but it's really, for me personally, it's almost an F because I'm just not going to draft.
That's also
I know myself too well. I'm just never going to do it. But if I'm being accurate, there's people who like to draft green white, all that stuff. I would say it's a C. It's still quite powerful. It's going to single-handedly take over some games, and that's enough for me to put it in like the
What about Incolor grade? C plus?
Yeah.
All right. C minus autocolor, C plus for me. This is not pulling me in. And it looks kind of good in multiples and so on, but it's got to be played at the right moment, is the thing.
Yeah, you're going to generally want to double spell with this. Like, if you can play it on turn 3 on the play and stuff, and that'll be fine. But like a lot of the times I see myself playing this on like turn 4, or I've ramped into it. There is Llanowar Elves, which makes it a little bit better, I guess. You can play it on turn 2.
There is a Hulk.
There's the Hawk. Yeah, there's enough cheap stuff that can go with it. There's like the uncommon that's a 1/1 that makes a 1/1 token on turn 5. That's kind of the kind of sequence that I'm looking for out of this card. But like, yeah, that's the thing. Like, my green white decks don't want a low curve. Like, I don't want to have my deck focused on Llanowar Elves and Healer's Hawks. That doesn't make any sense. So,
well,
yeah, it's almost a better card to splash in a mono white deck than it is in a Selesnya deck.
This one,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if you go monocolor. It's gonna be rare, right? It's gonna be rare in this set. I think.
Exactly. Extremely rare.
Yeah, it's been rare for a while now, just because like multicolored uncommons that are so nice, and also sometimes you want to splash for other cards, but it's you're getting too little of a reward for it. Next up, we got
Fiendish Panda. I can read this one.
Yeah.
Black white 2 for a 3/2. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on it. When this creature dies, return another non-bear creature card with mana value less than or equal to this creature's power. Puts it right into play. This is an interesting one. Black white's another color combination that, like, this feels more like a card you'd want in a black-red deck, right? Where you can freely sacrifice it or whatever. The gain life thing, it is kind of a theme, but the cards are kind of just bad. So like that's kind of just added text, it seems to me. I don't know. I'm not like super excited about this. The fact that it has to die to get any real value is not that exciting. And when you do get value, a lot of the times it might not be. If this is dying in combat, you might not be really getting that much out of it. I don't know. I would give this card personally, I think a C+. It is still a decent effect, but I don't know. I could see it being it's a C+. I'll give it a C+. I'm like always going to be happy to have it in my black white decks. I'm not going to really go out of the way to put it to draft black white because I see it.
Pretty good with Hawks.
Yeah, good with Hawks. I agree.
Hawk
is looking a lot better as we talk.
Yeah. It feels like it works with everything. I'm gonna give that probably high grade. It does need something in the graveyard, is the thing. No manifest red in this set. It's always with these cards. Also, it's a death effect. But if you can grow it, then they kind of need to get rid of it. The death effects are so much weaker than the ETB effects. So much weaker. But... Oh, it gets back the golem, by the way.
Or less. Yeah, there you go.
It gets back the golem. I mean, there are some ways to get creatures back from the graveyard. This is gonna be nice for it. You do need to put in the work for this. People can underestimate, especially they're gonna do it after the Duskmourn, how hard it is to get things in the graveyard. Your creatures in the graveyard. Of course they're gonna get there, but are they gonna get there at the right moment? Right, so when you're gonna play,
and even if you get something out of this, it may not be something that impacts the game very much.
Yeah, exactly.
Flaws of that. Yeah, so
I think the big deal about it is gonna be how much lifelink do you have, and because if this can just be a 4/3 when you play it and then maybe grow even more later, then it's a completely different story. So I think it's a C+, but B- in color, but I can see this one going up. Even though I'm very hesitant on their effects and on the effects that need to have a card of particular type in the graveyard at the right moment. So yeah, B- in color. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, that sounds fine to me. Yeah, like I'm gonna be very happy to have this in my black white deck.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like pivot into black white because I see like the next one I see.
Yeah, like the next one we see is we got a Balmor Battle Mage Captain for a blue and a red. We got a 1/3 flyer, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, creatures you control, all creatures, even this one, get +1/+0 and gain trample until the end of the turn. We've had this one in Dominaria United. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we are also getting from Dominaria United the Serpent, right?
You are, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That at common, the Serpent at common, that costs less. it has
each
more than
instant or
it's more than a
sorcery
5 cost less for every instant and sorcery in your graveyard, right?
Yep, this is that is the spells theme is kind of what Blue Red is trying to do, trying to accomplish.
But how much instant and sorceries do we have? I
Not
think
many.
sorcery is basically nothing. Okay, but instants. How many do we have that we like to cycle? There is a Thrill of Possibility to discard a card and draw cards, so that's kind of there.
Yep, there's still a possibility. There's Think Twice, which is like a weird one because it's very good with this card.
Yeah.
Not as good with Terror because it might leave the battlefield before you do that. But generally, if it's leaving if Think Twice is leaving the battlefield before you've cast your Terror, it's a lot deeper in the game where the mana discount isn't as important for the Terror, right? So,
there is a 1 mana blue -1/-0 draw card, but
Fleeting Distraction. Yep, that's another one.
I'm not a big fan of -1/-0, but it can work. It can work in this archetype.
Yeah, the fact it's not like an opt type thing where you can just cast it freely. There actually has to be something in play. So if you're planning on cycling it on turn 1 to find your land drop or whatever, and you can't put it, or to just fill your yard for the Terror, you can't just freely do it. You need to see a target. It's a lot worse, but it is going to play in this deck, of course.
I think there is less support for this. I think
there's less support than there used to be, but it's still. I mean, it's still
amazing.
It's a 2 mana 1/3 flyer that at some point explode, right? Just like you cast one Think Twice with flashback in one turn, and you have.
I'm on just a B, an in color B plus.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it might just be B plus for me, honestly, but. I'm going to go B plus for myself, but I don't think it gets out. Like I'm going to be aggressively taking this card. I think when I see it.
Same, but it's not as good as Indominaria United.
No, I don't think so. But it is like I'm really interested in playing with this and Think Twice. I'm really interested. There's also like
Thrill of Possibility is going to be really nice with it. Draws you into more cards like that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we have Burst Lightning as an efficient, cheap spell as well. That can, also just put them in reach. You can just burn them out.
There are also like Goblin Surprises that you can. The 3 mana red card that makes two goblins or gives everything +2/+0. So right, if you have enough creatures, you can just give like +3/+0 trample to everything. If not, you make creatures that work with this. So there is a good support for this. But I'm not sure how good those cards are without this. We're gonna see.
There's the
it can't be bad. Like bad. It can't be. It's always gonna be great. Like Balmer is always gonna be great.
Its floor is very high. This card. So I'm gonna give B plus. This is in Dominaria United. To me, I think this was the best uncommon. I can't remember exactly.
I think as well.
I played a lot of that set because the last Worlds I played was that set. And I think I came around to this just being the absolute best uncommon by the end of it.
I loved it since the set came. It just does so much, and it's not only getting bigger. Like trample, it's trample. Like you, and it's a freaking flyer. Yeah.
Wardens of the Cycle is a 3/4 for green black 1. With Morbid, at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, choose one. You gain 2 life, you draw a card, and you lose 1 life. Morbid is always like kind of been a keyword to me that I'm pretty low on because it's not reliable, right? Like we can't just. A lot of times you're going to play this on turn 4, and you're going to draw a card, and it's going to be great. And then there's going to be other times where combat didn't happen, and if combat didn't happen that turn, it's generally not really happening on a later turns either. Meaningful combat that will trigger this. So I don't know. It's double green, which makes it not splashable that direction. It's also not necessarily. This is definitely kind of card I would splash if it was kind of free, but I'm not I'm not looking. I'm not going. Oh, I'm green. I'm going to take this thing. I'm just going to always. So I don't know. I think it's worse than the things like Balmor, the blue-black eagle. It's probably even worse than the black-red card, just because it's kind of difficult to cast and unreliable. So I don't know. I'm going to give it a C+. I'm always going to be happy to have it in my green-black decks, but I'm not going to be like go out of my way for it. So like maybe C and then C+.
It makes every removal amazing, right?
Sort of. You have to cast it on your own turn. It's like kind of already not the best, right? The format has combat tricks and stuff. A lot of the times you are going to want to like hold up your and bait out a giant growth or whatever. So I don't know. Yes, it makes removal great, but what removal is there in black and green specifically? We have Bake into the Pie, which is 4 mana, so extremely efficient. You're going to curve this into Bake into the Pie and draw a card. Sure, that's fine, but that's not really like I really want to play this the turn. Like I want to play this on curve after I've traded. That is where you're going to get a lot of value, and then it's going to continue to potentially get you another trigger or two.
Yeah.
You also do have sacrifice stuff. There's like a black 2-drop that you can sacrifice stuff to draw cards, but like you're gonna
that's the uncommon, right? But there is a black 2-drop that uncommon that sacrifices for counters, so that's gonna be alright. I mean, yeah, Morbid is hard to activate. As Siggy said, it is hard. It always looks like, oh, creatures are gonna always die on my turn. Well, they're not. They're not gonna always die. And once you play this, hopefully it draws you the card that turn. But it's also the thing. Okay, is my opponent gonna block my creatures when I'm green-black, right? Or do they just not care? Are they just gonna attack back? Because after this they have a choice, right? Always like, okay, I'm not gonna block their creatures. It's
there is Disfigure in this set, which will, you could sequence that on turn 5. It's not actual Disfigure; it's named something else. I forget what, Stab or something, but there is a Disfigure. The cheaper removal does make it a little bit better, but yeah, I don't know. I just think like its ceiling is pretty high in a game, but in general, it's just going to be kind of.
It is going to be a little bit awkward, but it's also like a huge effect. It's not. We've had these morbid creatures that gain +1/+1 and kind of crappy things like that to actually make them normal started, and that's usually been abysmal. But like drawing 1 card, losing on life, that's just if you draw 1, it's huge. And then if you can maybe have some removal or sack, that's pretty huge as well. So I'm actually going to be just on a C+ how highly I take it. I could see it even being splashable in some green decks, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah, it's going to depend on your, like, obviously in green-white, this is going to be less impressive.
Exactly, like maybe green-blue. But I think it's in color, it is a B-. I think it's still like for 4 mana, not that hard to play, just double green. I think it's gonna be fine. It's just that I don't know if opponents have to block my creatures when I'm green-black.
Yeah, that is the other thing. I mean, I guess you can play it on turn 3 too, right? With the elves. There's multiple elf type effects, right? Or is there only the one? I thought there was a 2-drop too. Maybe I'm thinking about stupid Paradise Druid or something from the sheet. I thought I processed that there was 2 mana creatures, but maybe there's just the one. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think I agree with that. B- on color. It is like the fact it's a green gold card does make it more splashable, just because green has easier time splashing. It's just I don't know if I want to splash this effect.
Yes.
And like in green blue, it's not going to be good. In green white, it's not going to be. So really, it's just green red, or what is it, green black, right? So.
Yeah, you really. It's maybe. It is that uncommon that I think you mentioned that one, right? That attacks and then cannot be blocked if you sack the creature, but you also draw a card. Was that one that you were thinking about?
No.
You were thinking about the 2 mana 2/2 that sacks for 1 and gets a +1/+1 counter?
Yeah, there was like a Nintuko Husk type card that was a common. Yeah, that you can sacrifice your elf tokens or whatever to trigger this deeper into the game. Like that's not even a card you're necessarily going to want in your black-green decks, but if you have this, you'll be it is just a 2-drop, so it's not like you're not going to play it a lot of times.
Yeah, it's not hard. Okay, well, we're going to see. So B- as in color.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it in the machine.
I give it a C+ out of color. I think it's a good card. It's just like not morbid is hard. There's a lot of control opponent has over it. Next up, we got Heroic Reinforcements for 2 and a red and a white. It's a sorcery. Create 2/1/1 white creature tokens. Until the end of the turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain haste. Yeah, this was crazy in some core set, right? It's a long time ago.
Yeah, M19. or
M19,
something, maybe.
M20, something there. I think maybe
Yeah.
M19. Yeah, this is crazy. This is like for the turn where you play it, you get two tutus with haste, and everything else grows as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is.
And there's a good amount of white token makers. Like I said, there's a common and uncommon. I'm not sure there's anything in red. Like there's some goblin stuff maybe in red. But yeah, this is just. I mean, in color, this card's great. Like this is exactly what you want out of a gold card in color.
Yeah.
As far as being drawn into it, it is a very specific card. It's not really splashable. It's not. You're not going to want it in every red deck. You're not going to. You probably want it in every white deck, but you're not going to be looking to splash in those really, the decks that want this card do not want to splash cards.
Exactly.
Maybe there's some outlier with some kind of white-green tokens thing where but even then there's better effects than this. There's just in color, it's at least a B for me. Outside of color, I would probably give it a C+, maybe B-. I don't necessarily take aggressive creature, pick one, and then see this and go, okay, we're doing it. Like it just not the way I draft. I tend to take either rares or removal in the first couple picks, so I don't get drawn into this archetype all that much unless it's wide open.
I'm okay giving this in color B+. Like when you're Boros, like this is gonna be the best card in the deck. Better than a lot of rares, I think. It's just like this is such a game finisher, and you don't even have to play it super in the late game. You can play it on turn 4 and just getting so much damage that all of a sudden they're so back. I think I'm gonna take it as a B-. Just a B-. Never splashable, but very good. Oh, am I gonna take it as a B? Because the thing is, this is not gonna be the only thing that carries your Boros deck, right? You need to have good aggression, and it's gonna be good when you have a good aggro deck. It's gonna be incredible when you have a good aggro deck. But if you're just taking these and then struggling to get red-white cards to be aggressive, it's not gonna be that good.
Correct. So, that's kind of where I'm at on it. It's a great. The better your deck is, the better this card is.
Yeah.
Generally.
It's always going to be great in Boros, right? But if your deck kind of sucks, this is maybe not going to be.
If you have all X1s and stuff, and it's hard for you to leverage anything earlier, then it's going to be hard for this to have enough impact. Even if you deal some extra, even if you deal 8 damage if they're at 20 and you untap with a bunch of 1/1s in play, it's not really improving your chances to win the game. So you need to have a good curve of hard to block creatures. There's some really good uncommon low curve creatures like a Heartfire Prowess thing or whatever with Prowess, like stuff like that. If you have really good early game, this card gets a lot better.
Somebody asked, Eagle asked, is this good to splash with Balmor?
You could. If it depends how free that is and what other cards you have. But there is, like I said, there's an uncommon blue card that stuns a creature and makes 2 1/1s. Like if you have some of those token makers where you're just, for each creature you have, the more power it gets, right? And it's just not going to be as good in a deck that's a bunch of terrors and abilities, right? With Balmor, it's still not going to be good in that.
I mean, it could give haste to the terror if you pay 1 mana for it.
Yeah, you could set up some terms like that, I guess. Yeah.
But the thing is, it doesn't give these soldiers trample and +2/+1. So.
Yeah, unless
yeah, and people say okay, it's +2/+1 and trample. Yes, but every sorcery in instant speed is +1/+0 trample. So
I think twice is how much you get the think twice. You just cast and flash back at the same turn. You get +2/+0 trample and draw 2 cards. Right? It's very similar to this, and that's think twice. You're going to be able to get whenever you want.
Exactly. And if your Balmor is surviving, it's good. It's good. Life is good.
Yeah. Not gonna,
It's more like Balmor is gonna die. If he doesn't die, life is good. Let's go.
Yeah.
I gave it a B- in color. Blast from the past. It's not that far away the past, but this one has been a beauty.
Tatiova, Benthic Druid. blue green 3/3/3 landfall. Whenever land enters, you draw a card and gain a life. So there's a couple things about this card that I recognize that make it. I think it's very good, but also it does happen to dodge stuff like a 1 mana burst lightning and the disfigure, which is some of the removal in this format, which makes it even better to me. I think the format's gonna be slow enough. It's good. We have Evolving Wilds. There's like Grow to the Ashes to ramp it out. There's Llanowar Elves. This is first a green card to me. I'm going to play it in every single green deck if I get it, and I'm probably going to take it incredibly highly. And then on top of that, obviously in blue-green itself, it's fine. It's actually kind of worse in blue-green itself, weirdly, because a card like this that can draw so many cards, you really want to be able to interact with the opponent, and blue-green is pretty poor at interacting. Like, any kind of card that's going to generate a lot of actual raw cards for you in your hand, you really want to be able to interact with your opponent and kill their creatures, whatever. Interact with the stack in some situations. And so this is like a card more of like a green-black card than a blue-green card to me, weirdly. But it's just always going to be great, and I'm always going to play it in my green decks. I'm going to take it, at least initially. It is a bit undercurved, 5 mana 3/3, so it can't really block all that well. That's its downside, but it is a card engine, and this does seem to be a set that is a little bit absent of a lot of value creatures. So I'm gonna put this. It's on par with the best gold cards we've seen. It's in Balmor range to me. I'm gonna give it a B, and the on color thing is a little weird for this card for me, because this is a card I'm gonna kind of just evaluate more as a green card than a gold card.
You can have it as a BB.
Yeah, that seems fine to me. You agree with?
I do think it's gonna be weaker than in Dominaria. Because Dominaria was such a low power level set in terms of this is kind of core set, but in Dominaria, 50% of all the creatures were vanilla.
Creatures were much worse. That is true.
Worse.
There wasn't like a lot of 3 mana 4/2s like there is in this set, which really pressured your life total earlier and forced you to get into combat earlier. You could kind of dick around a bit and not do anything. And and you have a bunch of 1/3s and 2/3s that stared at each other, and then this card would kind of
exactly like that.
In this set, it's the opposite. There's things hitting for 3-4 damage every turn, so you kind of got to get into combat. But I still think that it is a very good card to bridge it, like just removal spell, creature, this thing. You're gonna have no problem drawing extra cards, and they're gonna be forced to answer it. I don't know. BBB sounds fine to me. Yeah,
I'm okay with a BBB. I could see it going a little bit down, maybe on a B minus, just because as you mentioned, the creatures in Dominaria where this was incredibly powerful were 1/3s for 2 mana, 2/3s for 3 mana, and those don't attack. So everybody was just sitting and chilling, and flyers were killing people. So not 2/2 flyers for 3 mana, not big flyers or something. So yeah, not the same, but still a great card.
Kakar Zephyr Awakener. Two colorless, blue-white, 3/4 flying. When you cast a non-creature spell, you can choose one, blink a creature you control, or create a 1/1 spirit token. Interesting card. Definitely good, quite good, better than the Eagle. Hard to necessarily trigger reliably and often. Like, obviously, if this is a blue-red card, you can, it's going to play nicely with Think Twice, for instance. But the white card, like a lot of the white cards are creatures, right? And there's stuff like, I guess this does count enchantments. I'm thinking, so like Banishing Light will trigger this, for instance. So I don't know. It's just good. It's like a B+ for me. It's not like a windmill slam bomb, but in color it is definitely a B+. And then I don't know. I maybe I'm undervaluing or not like. Bombs to me are like the best 5 or 6 cards in a set, and I would definitely not put that in this category.
It's just like, does it warp? Usually, what I prefer to give like B pluses is like really powerful. Like something is a 2/1 on the board, right? So it gives you value and tempo. Like that's super powerful. and good for its fail. Not the 2/4 like you're making 2/1/1s for 4 mana and that's it.
Yeah.
Bombs are like they've kind of warped the game around them, and yeah, I also don't think this is always gonna be a bomb. It's also a non-creature spell though, so you can play equipment and things like that.
Yeah, equipment is not one I consider.
And there are some ETBs that are not bad, like a 2 mana 1/1 in white that draws you a card.
There's a mana war, a 4 mana, like 3/2 mana war.
Yeah.
That's a common.
There is a common in white that 4-drop that puts 2+1/+1 on counters on 2 creatures. And you can just make a 1/1 flyer. The question is how easy it is gonna be to
trigger. Yeah.
To trigger this, yeah. So it has good stats. It does need help. It does need help, and it is a 4-drop. So yeah, I'm also on a B+. It's extremely powerful. I think it's a lot of times you're gonna play this on your opponent, and it is not gonna feel like a bomb. It's gonna be great, and it's never gonna be bad. Like it's a 4 mana 3/4 flyer. That's fine. You trigger it once, that's great, but a lot of times it's not gonna be like, oh, now I'm chaining like 5 spells in the non-creature spells in like 3 turns or something. That's gonna be a little bit harder. So B+ as well.
B+ across the board, I think.
Right?
B+,
B+ in color, also B+. You just take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Consuming Aberration for 3 and a blue and a black. Consuming Aberration power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your opponent's graveyards. Whenever you cast a spell, each opponent reveals cards from the top of the library until they reveal a land card. Put those cards into their graveyard. This is pretty big.
It's a reprint.
Yeah. It's big.
Yeah. So you mill like what? Like you mill like 2.5 cards or something with this every time you cast a spell, which also grows it. It does require like a lot of the times on curve it's going to be very small.
Yep.
Which is a big downside. It's going to be a 2/2 or a 3/3. But it is like it does have the ability to like kind of quote unquote take over the game in the mid game or whatever. So I'm not going to give it like I'm not going to punish it too much. I'm definitely going to play this in my blue black decks. I'm just not going to go out of my way too much for it. I mean, it's also a good card in like a black green deck as a splash. Very splashable card in either green blue or. I'm trying to think of an accurate rating for this. I think it's worse than the uncommon.
Yeah, it's no evasion, just a big. I'm not high on big 5-drops that are 1 bodies.
Yeah, it has the added ability that it doesn't need to attack to pressure them. That's one of the things I like. Like you just get inevitability from its static. You cast a draw spell into something else, and then you cast 2 more spells. Like their library is going to get depleted pretty quickly. Yeah. So it's a little bit better than just generic 5 mana 5/5, right? It's way.
Yeah, it's gonna be big. It's gonna be really big, but I don't care too much.
So I don't know. I'll give it a B-. I think that's where I would have it. I think it's better than a C, but maybe not.
I think this one is gonna be nothing special. I think in color it's maybe gonna be like a C+. In color, out of color, I'm thinking.
In color is what I was thinking, B-, but
I'm gonna be just taking it as a C- out of color. This is not gonna push me into this direction.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna take the good commons over it.
Yeah,
but I am always gonna play this in my.
Yeah, I'm okay with it in Vladimir deck. You can mill your opponent, but it's pretty slow.
Correct.
Yeah, whatever. Like, so do we give it in color C+ or B-?
Yeah, we can do. Yeah. B- for me in color, and then whatever.
Sure, B- in color, but I think it's gonna go a bit down. Like it's just like big-bodied 5-drop. It doesn't get you back in the game at all. It's like big-bodied 5-drops don't get you back in the game. Like even when they're huge. And yeah,
it's just gonna be hard to attack into when you're losing.
It is gonna be hard to attack, but well, whatever.
All right, you said C or C+. You said C+ in color. That's what it was. We're kind of in between there. All right, we got Alicia who laughs at fate. 2/2 first strike, black red 1. Same casting cost. Attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. trade at the beginning of your end step. If you attack this turn, return target creature card with mana value less than or equal to Alicia's power from their graveyard to the battlefield. That's a pretty solid ability. Notably works with there's a Mog Fanatical Firebrand, I think it's called. So you can do cute stuff like turn that into a shock, right? You can play it, sacrifice it to ping something, attack with this, or rather attack with this, get the counter, deal your 3 damage, post combat, play your Fanatic, and kind of shock something. Those two will play very nicely together. I don't know. This is like a solid, quite good 3-drop for what it does. I'd give it a B. A B generally, and then a B plus when I'm black red.
I think it's incredible.
It's I mean, early in the big downside to it is early in the game it's going to be hard to get value out of. So,
but it's going to keep growing as a first striker.
Yeah, as long as it survives, it's going to be easy. It dies to all the removal. Is one of the downsides to it. I mean, it's not a bomb to me. Is all I'm saying. It's the next. It's a gold card that I'm always going to be happy to play in my black red decks. I'm going to take it quite highly when I have a card of its color. I'm not really sure if I'm going to take this over like Burst Lightning pick 1 pack 1 though.
I think this is a bomb. I think it's a card that if you play it on turn 3 and it doesn't get removed, you win.
I think I mean, there's going to be times where my opponent plays this on turn 3 and I'm not going to kill it because I don't feel like it, because it doesn't fit my curve well.
I don't know. It's just like plus one all the time. It's the big deal is also just mana wheel less mana wheel. Okay, so everything before you played it, it can also attack. Right, like everything you played,
you can just attack freely with your 2/2s and whatnot.
Yeah,
into even blocks or whatever.
You're just attacking with everything, and at the end, if they block, it just gets back. So it's like you play a 2-drop into this 3-drop, and they gotta let so much damage through if they don't have a removal spell. I think it's in color. It's A-. Like I'm gonna be picking it as a B+.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna have to play with it before I start taking it over Burst Lightning or whatever, just because it's a 2-color card. If this is a black 1 card, completely different story. I would take it over basically any non-rare.
That's true. Is this not splashable? Yeah, definitely not splashable.
It doesn't seem like it's good. Like it's so much better early in the game than it is late. That I don't.
Late is kind of late. It's
you're gonna splash it sometimes because it's gonna be easy enough to do. But
I can give it a B+ in color then. That seems fine, but I think it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because it's a weird set, because this could very well be a bomb in this set. I haven't top to bottom picked the top 5 cards or anything, and we haven't really found any quite yet that would fit in that category for me. So, all right, so B+, Alicia, who laughs.
B+ from me.
Yeah, I'll give it a B for.
Next up, we got Ash Root Animist. For 2 and a red and a green, it's a 4/4 trampler. When this creature attacks, another target creature you control gains trample and gets +X/+X, where X is this creature's power. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah. It's hard.
That is something else hits even harder, right?
Yeah. Yes. That's it's. Also keep in mind, there's giant growth, sure strike,
Yeah.
All gonna scale this thing. It's just gonna turn that into those cards into overruns on their own, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this card's quite good. At every stage of the game, it's a lot harder to block. Its base power is 4/4. There are a fair bit of 3 mana 4/2s and stuff that would trade with this, but it's going to be so easy to push this thing through. And I think this thing only needs to attack without dying in combat once. And then if you untap again, the game is completely over. So
yes.
This is almost in that bomb category for me. Its downside no comes into play, and it's a 4-mana card.
It features the race completely in your favor. That's huge. If they were doing the better thing, if they were being more aggressive than you, they're not anymore. If they don't kill this.
This is a 4-mana creature that needs to die when you cast it. If it doesn't, you're gonna win the game. So.
And sometimes it's gonna be okay. Sometimes it's gonna be doesn't have to. They can block it, right? They can block it.
They can block it, but yeah, the idea is if this is in my deck, it's gonna be supported with some removal equipment, anything that makes it blocking like kind of a nightmare. They're gonna want to, like, if I'm playing with this card, my opponent's gonna want to kill it if they make them punish them.
I'm gonna.
So
I don't think this is like straight up a bomb.
yeah, I don't know. This is the closest thing I've seen, but it's one of those things, right? It doesn't have a come into play ability, so it's not.
It doesn't have the ETB as well.
Also, I don't really like this color combination from what I've seen, but this is like the best. This is like really good read to be at.
So in color B+?
There's no way I'm taking comments over this. Yeah, B+ is fine. I can get down with that.
B+ in color. What are you giving it out of color?
B+ across the board for me. I'm gonna take this thing over everything.
I'm gonna be out of color. I'm actually gonna be lower than the last card. I wanna be out of color.
Be out of color. Okay, all right. B +.
It's very powerful, but no ETB for 4-drop as well.
All right. Anthem of Champions. This is creatures you control get +1/+1. It's exactly just an anthem.
Just
true
an
to
anthem.
its name. I don't know. It's kind of weird because this being a 2-drop is kind of good. Playing this on turn 2 isn't bad, especially the way it curves into the white common. I don't know. Like, it's the kind of card I'm not going to take early, but in color, I think it's great. So I don't know. Just because of what the green and white are trying to do or able to do, it's like elves tokens and other tokens in white, and you're trying to not really necessarily go wide, but just build up. There's like this and overrun as ways to kind of support that token strategy. I would give this probably a C, and then in color I would give it like a B.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine, just an anthem, but anthems are good. Yeah, maybe B.
In green white,
really a B is super high in color. Like, it's super high. No.
Yeah. B, yeah, B is super high in color. I mean, like, what do you if you're green white? This is pretty. I guess we haven't gotten into that yet, but like, Vanishing Light is a B, right? It's kind of on par with that to me.
Sure. Yeah, I can see B, but I'm picking it as a C. Like, is this really gonna pull me into the color?
I'm not looking to take this and draft around it.
Exactly.
If it happens to fit my deck, I'm happy. But
if my this is really like, if your deck is good, if your green white deck is good, then this is good. If you're getting into green white because of this, that's not gonna.
Your deck might be a disaster.
Yeah. So that's why I see out of color. Elenda, Saint of Dusk for 2 and a white and a black. It's a 4/4. Lifelink hexproof from instance. As long as your life total is greater than your starting life total, Elenda gets +1/+1 and has menace. Elenda gets an additional 5/5, +5/+5, as long as your life total is at least 10 greater than your starting life total. That is gonna be hard. That's gonna be hard. Like, I can see some games where this is gonna have higher life total.
Self-enables that, but like, if you're connecting that many times with this thing, then.
But a 4/4 lifelink that has hexproof from instance
I think a lot of the time this could end up being a 5/5 lifelink even with menace, because Healer's Hawk, your favorite card. The black white strategy is gain life or whatever, and you can kind of facilitate that. You have stuff like Bake the Pie as well. You can actually just get over the barrier at instant speed with that. 6 maybe, like, you play this on 4, turn 6, bake the pie their creature, block their 5/5 with this thing, or their 4/4 or whatever, bake the pie their other creature, gain 3 life, get over the threshold, kill it. This is a weird one though. The way this works with, like, so let's say you block a 4/5 with this when you're at 17, it won't die, right?
And that gets +1/+1. It's menace. Oh yeah. It's like like lifelink and +1/+1. It doesn't go on the stack, right?
Yeah, I'm so bad with Magic rules.
Oh man, I gotta.
I'm pretty sure it survives if you're at 17 and you block a 4.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure as well. So Elenda gets +1/+1 has menace.
There's gonna be times that comes like it sounds crazy, but especially on arena, like, you know, lower ranks or whatever, you're going to play this against. You're just going to eat them.
Where maybe we are gonna get messed up by blocking a 4-4
My
with
chat
this.
says correct. But yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know. Like,
it works. Okay, it works.
yeah. I mean, this card is never going to be bad. You're always going to play it in your black-white decks.
A 4-4 life,
It's
just
not a card-
if it was just a 4-4 lifelinker,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, it's very good.
Very, very good.
It's a great thing. Yeah, it's I don't know. So it's also just not like, I don't know. It's not like, it's definitely not a bomb. So it's kind of a B to me. Like I'd say definitely B in color, and then I think lower. Like, not going to be excited to open this and take it and try to, you know, draft a black-white deck.
C plus
I
probably.
wouldn't want to have a black or white card first before I start diving into this thing. So I don't know, maybe a C plus.
I'm okay with a C plus.
And then I think a B, solid B.
Solid B. Like just a 4-4 lifelinker is very, very good.
Yep.
It's if not removed, like you're not losing the race anymore at least. So that's really nice. And these effects do matter. Okay, next up, fun but crap.
Yeah. Whenever you cast into a 1,000-Year Storm, I love this card, but I used to draft this in Modern Horizons. Was this card in? I loved this card in that.
Oh no, it was.
Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it for each other instant and sorcery spell you've cast before it. This turn, you may get choose new targets for this copy. I don't know, D minus F. F, I guess. Like, I'm definitely gonna like take this card at some point and try to play with it, but it's not a good card. It's not a winning strategy. So
no. So yeah, everybody, I'm gonna play with this card. Sig is gonna play with this card. Everybody's gonna play with this card. But if you wanna win, don't play with this card.
It's an F. It's an F in my head, but it's a D in my heart.
No, it's like a B minus in my heart. Like,
yeah.
But like,
we lived in a world where it's a B minus.
Yeah. Pro Tour unplayable.
Yeah, exactly.
Not because it's a high level draft, but because there are things at stake, so you don't want to have fun with it. Lateral Blade of the Elves. 2 and a black and a green. It's a 2/3 with menace. Whenever this thing deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. You can tap this and tap 10 untapped elves you control. Each opponent loses 10 life and you gain 10 life. Well, this is horrible.
So like you can just ignore the tap ability.
Or you can ignore the first ability as well. It has menace, right?
It has menace, so I don't know. It doesn't seem that bad to me. Like I can't imagine not playing with this card if I'm black-green.
It's a 2/3.
Yeah, but when it hits, it makes 2 tokens.
But how does it? Okay, so the only good thing about it that I see is you play it and the opponent. Okay, they don't remove it, right? Because they don't want to remove this. But the opponent then stops attacking. That's the best thing about it, right?
You can push this through. Like menace is a very sneaky ability, right? Like with giant growth or whatever, like you can get a lot of value. I don't know, like it's definitely we're sort of on the same page here. Like this is definitely not a card I think is a bomb or even remotely close to it. But if I'm in black green, this is a solid C for me. Like I'm gonna play it. I can't imagine cutting it just because it has the ability to snowball. Generally in black green, if I'm like going the elves route at all, you'll have Llanowar elves. So if you play this ahead of curve, it's a lot better. But yeah, it can't block very well the turn it comes into play. If the format was a lot faster, it might be worse. But I don't know. Like it does just stop the opponent in their tracks, like you said. Like an aggro deck can't just let this hit them because then they're not going to be able to connect anymore because you're just going to have. So I don't know. It's just a solid like I don't know. Probably like C minus and then a C for me or something, or D plus for me.
I think it's a D minus.
Yeah, I wouldn't give it that, but for a strong agreement. But yeah, it's not. I'm not excited about by the card by any means. But
since I'm giving it a D minus and in color, I would give it like I would give it D minus in color. I guess we don't give it a ceiling. There's no point in averaging the ceiling to lower than your initial grade.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, yeah.
It's 4 mana 2/3. Like, is it similar? Oh man, it's just like, yeah, that is by far the best thing that the opponent doesn't attack anymore. And God forbid if they have some tokens.
You still find ways to get it through. Just play your Rogue's Passage, Lola. Just do it.
Yeah, like okay. I mean, okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
Like, it's good with combat tricks as well and removal and stuff. It really makes your opponent take pause and all that stuff. I don't know. Again, it's not like busted, but its effect is powerful if you're able to
connect,
ramp it, connect it all.
Like, so hard. It is so hard. I think this is. It's gonna be so hard, man. It's gonna be so hard to connect with this, and then it's just gonna be lying around. Well, I guess it triggers Morbid because something is gonna die when it attacks.
True.
All right.
Probably it.
Let's get to the next one.
A random 2/2 or 3/2. Yeah. Oh, I love this card.
This Latrell Blade of Yells.
Yep, I put the grades in for that one. Okay. All right, Swiftblade Vindicator. Another reprint. 1/1. For red and white, double strike, vigilance, trample. Lots of keywords. I like this card a lot. I love efficient 2-drops that scale well into the game. It wears the pickaxe quite well. Lola's favorite card. You're gonna that curve of this into that is nasty.
That's nuts. That's nuts, man.
So yeah, I don't know. As far as this is the kind of card that, like, I'm gonna take over some of the good commons. Maybe not all of them. Maybe all of them. It really depends on, like, later in the format when I have an idea of my biases and stuff. If red white is really good, I'm just gonna be slamming this. But if red white sucks for some reason, I don't think it will. I think red white's gonna be very good. So I don't know. I'm gonna give this, like, out the gate. It's probably a B for me, and then a B+ on color, or I mean, maybe even an A on color. It's hard to say. The fact that it doesn't provide any value, it's so easy to kill. I kind of hard. I don't like to designate those cards as bombs unless they take over the game completely.
Yeah, and
needs help.
Needs help. On its own, it's great.
Help is easy in the set. Is one of the upsides to it, and it plays really nicely with that combat trick too. There's a white combat trick that's quite good.
+1/+1 flying.
Yeah, +1/+1 counter.
Ignores combat damage. Yeah. Plays really well with the common Felidar, or I think it's the Felidar. The cat that for 4 mana puts +1/+1 counters on things.
Yeah. It's just a solid card. I don't know. It's B and then B+ for me, I think.
I'm a little bit lower because, like, it's not gonna pull me into color. It's the same thing. Like, if you're drafting a red-white deck, it is gonna be amazing. It's gonna be probably your best 2-drop. Yeah, it's just gonna be great. I love the pick already, but I don't think it pulls me into the color, right? I mean, I need to have a really good white-red deck, and then this is gonna make it even better. But so I'm gonna be on a B-. How highly I take it, and in color, I don't know. I'm more on a B because it's been great, and this has been what, Guilds of Ravnica, I think. I remember that a good amount of times, like, it's been great, but sometimes you just trade it off, and that's fine. That's fine. Sometimes you just do that. So because it needs help, I'm on a B. But when it gets help, it's beautiful. Can you give it a B?
Yeah, I'm. Yeah, you want to give it a B across the board?
In color, right? I'm on a B-. How highly I take it, but B in color. You want a B+ in color?
I would say B+ in color, but I'm not. It's not like.
You better take some picks then. Put a B+ on it. Get your
I'll give it a B. B across the board for me is fine.
Okay. Next up, we got not a reprint. World Eater. Right, this one is, for 3 and a green and a blue. I was so scared when I saw this and rare. I was, Jesus Christ. And then I saw the card and it's okay, because we don't need another Coma in limited, and especially not a rare Coma. The This spell cannot be countered. Trample, Ward 4, it's an 8/12. Whenever it connects, you create 4. Oh, 4! 4! Oh, I didn't see the 4 when I read it.
I didn't see the 4 either.
Oh, 4 3/3s.
I just had a whole thing lined up about how if you trade this with a Death Touch creature or whatever, it's kind of a disaster. Yeah, you get a 3/3, but yeah, no, this is.
Oh,
I didn't know.
Yeah, you don't care.
Yeah, fourth. Yeah, this is just designed to win the game if it attacks. Yeah.
Yeah, this. Oh my god, it's 4 3/3s. I read 1 3/3 and that.
Yeah, me too. That's how I originally read it.
Phew. I didn't read a lot of rares in this format, but this one I read. As I saw Coma. Oh, that's kind of good.
Yeah, it's quite good. I don't know. It's certainly.
It's a bomb.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I was gonna say I can't imagine ever taking anything over it. It's going to be the best card in my deck every time. Basically, yeah, it is just a flat out bomb.
At least it doesn't have hexproof.
It's a little bit weird. Like it's kind of a sweet spot, the Ward 4, because Banishing Light is there's Banishing Light, there's Hero's Downfall and Uncommon. There's a lot of ways to trade 7 mana for 7 mana for this, but not that many, right? And then there's ways like if you're on the play, or if you get to 7 mana before your opponent gets to 8 mana and they have Bacon Their Pie as their answer to this, and this even connects once, the game just ends, right? Like you can't kill this a turn later; it has to die the turn, and you can't counter this thing. And like Essence Scatter's in this set. There's like a pretty good cancel in this set. So yeah, this is just a flat out bomb. I don't know about plus. I'd say more of an A than an A plus. That's getting nitpicky.
Do you give it an? I mean, what do you give it? An A plus or an A?
An A, I would say, because it's 7 mana and you can interact with it and get no gain.
Yeah,
so
and no ETB.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like an A plus to me is like beyond whatever that Breach the Multiverse or whatever it was in Mom. Like it's just completely unbeatable if it gets put on the stack the game.
Or the Coma that we've, or the previous Coma.
Yeah, the other one before.
That was like, you play it and it has hexproof forever. It's making 2 3/3s every turn. It has indestructible as well. This
one you can answer. It just requires you to be very mindful that this could happen and not use your removal and have the mana in play. Like there's a lot of check boxes, a lot of check marks you need to.
It's gonna be hard to remove. Like for a white deck to have 7 mana, it's gotta be very late.
Exactly.
For a black deck, I don't know. We're gonna see. Yeah. A seems good. We don't even have to give it in color grade. Like, I mean, you're not like this. Sure, we can give it in color grade, but it doesn't change anything. Like, you just take this and play. You switch to that color a lot of times because of it. Okay, I didn't put in mythics accidentally, so we still got mythics. Oh, by the way, so far I'm fine with the rares. It's like I don't like when we see the rare that completely breaks, like Valgavott's Onslaught or something, like a rare that breaks the game. Like Mythics, that's where I'm fine being completely game-winning cards.
Yeah, the Onslaught was a little too much. I have not complained much about rares in my day. Like I remember Ben Stark used to always complain about Glorybringer, and I just like eye roll every time. It's like, yeah, Glorybringer's great or whatever, but there is counterplay to that card, and it's not the end of the world. Sometimes they would play Glorybringer, kill your creature, deal you 4 damage, but you'd still be in the game and you could still win the game. You could beat it, but like Onslaught was just so stupid. If you opened it, you automatically took it. You automatically put it in your deck. The later the game you drew it, the better it was. Like it just Onslaught was too much for me. Yeah.
Well, we still have a lot of rares to review, so for now it's fine. Next up.
Yeah. All right. We got Niv-Mizzet Visionary. Blue-red 4, 5/5 flying. You have no maximum hand size. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you draw that. I mean, most of the value of this card is it is a 6 mana 5/5 flyer. It is a Shivan Dragon that you can turn your Burst Lightning into a draw 4 or whatever, which isn't nothing. It isn't much, but it isn't nothing. I don't know. This is just like, I would get, like, I guess it's splashable in some decks potentially, not really, because it's right,
it's pretty small also.
Generic. I don't know. I give it like a. Let me think here. I I would say initially it's probably like a C, and then I would give it like on color, you know, C plus or something like that, B minus maybe.
What things do you have to deal 1 damage? There's like that flyer that deals 1 damage whenever you play a non-creature spell. How do you deal damage?
I don't remember everything. I actually tried to draft blue red like a gazillion times. You can never that I did.
Oh, you tried that red flyer?
No, I don't even know. I know what you're talking. It's an uncommon, right? Yeah. I know that. Yeah, you place a non-creature spell, it deals 1. Yeah, I mean, there's probably a couple of combos with it, but there's not that many, right? It's not like there's Lobra Crew or something that's just going to be reliable, always in play, always doing its thing for 0 mana.
I'm on a D plus. How highly I take this? Maybe even lower. I'm on a D. Just on a D.
A D. Okay.
I got about 6 mana 5/5 flyer.
Or something.
I'm looking at it like a 6 mana 5/5 flyer. So D and in color.
Yeah.
I would give it as.
There literally is a dragon in this set too, right? So like it's. I think it's comparable. Oops.
D plus, I would give it in color. I don't care. But what did you say that you would give it in color? Like a C plus?
No, I said C.
C, so like C minus C in color.
Yeah, it's better than like it's better than complete filler. But it is filler. It's like the format's a little slower, and I'm evaluating things on that. Like I think Shivan Dragon is a card you put in your deck, but you're not like looking to take them early or anything. But if I get a 6th, 7th pick Shivan Dragon, I'll probably put it in my deck.
Then in color like a C minus.
Like I do feel like this set the games are going to slow down quite a bit, and just like if you have a big flyer, it's going to kind of change things. If you're able to play something that can threaten to win the game and also block everything your opponent has in the same turn, it's going to be a lot more relevant than it has been in sets we've seen recently. Not that much more relevant that they've become bombs. Like there was a point in Magic where this was a bomb, right?
Is that there is like that archer of 2 mana 2 and that deals 1 damage to each opponent whenever you cast non-creature?
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, the Firebrand Archer. Yeah.
But
there's some synergies with it. It's just it costs 6. Like,
and that one just trades all the time.
If your 5/5 flyer survives anyways, it's like if your Shivan Dragon survives and you're able to untap, it's gonna hit them pretty fucking hard too, and close the game pretty quickly. So
the thing about those creatures that deal 1 damage, when it was good, it was a 1/3 which can block 2/2s. When it's a 2/1, then it's not doing much because if you trade with it, then you just trade with it. It's not it's in the graveyard. If you don't, you always gotta trade with it if it's 2/1. If you don't trade with it, it means opponent is probably dealing more damage to your face, right? They're just attacking with their 2/2s, 3/1s or whatever, and they're dealing more damage than you. So why are you not trading it? So there's no way that Firebrand Archer is gonna be as good as the 1/3 was, and I have no idea what set like a few years ago where it was really good. Maybe Dominaria United, I can't remember.
Oh no, I think I know what you're talking about.
It was 1/3 with the same effect. That does 1 damage when you play non-creature.
Yeah. I remember. I remember a couple iterations of the card. I think I know what you're talking about.
Last time it was good, but 2/1 is not. Festival Crasher, no, that's +2/+. So what? We average it out to like a C minus in color then?
Oh yeah, I didn't have the minus. Yeah, I have it. I said C minus C, but yeah, C minus is fine. Something like that.
Zimon.
I'm gonna play it in my red deck, but
Zimon is always good. So let's see.
Yeah.
Zimon?
Yes, let me finish reading. I forget the card. I remember reading it and going, well, that's cracked. But
I can read it. It's Zimon Paradox Sculptor for 2 and a green and a blue. It's a 1/4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each up to 2 target creatures you control. For a green and a blue and a tap, double the number of each kind of counters on up to 2 target creatures and or artifacts you control. Yeah, that's pretty broken. It's always good. Zimon is always good.
Yeah, this I think is the best card we've seen so far. What was the other card that we were really high on?
It was the
this is like in that category to me, maybe even better because it's a 4-drop. Like this.
I would say this is better than Comma. Way better than Comma.
Yeah.
Okay, not way better. Comma is great, but I would say this is A+. I think this is.
Yes, I agree. It's splashable. It takes over the game the turn you cast it. If it sits in play, it's like it's a double Luminarch Aspirin. That also has an activated ability.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, that activated ability. So what if it doesn't die? What you put 2 +1/+1 counters on 2 things, and and you activate this, and then you don't even care if he dies anymore. It's too late. Now the other creatures are bombs. How big they are.
Yep. It essentially has a comes into play effect because they have
And it has the
mana.
ETB, so even if he dies, you're doing well.
Yeah.
A plus, just A plus, A plus. This is gonna be one of the best cards in the format. I have hard time believing that it's not gonna be one of the best cards.
It's also very splashable. Yeah, you're always gonna play it if you're touching either color, I think.
I'm so happy with the next card. I love this.
Yeah, I love that card too. I didn't realize how many Dominaria cards in the set.
Yeah. But not the vanilla creatures, thankfully.
The Gravetide. We got a 6/6 for 3 black, green, blue. During each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a permanent spell of each permanent type from your graveyard. 6/6. So it's first 3-color card we're seeing here, but it is a green card. I see this very much as a green card. If I'm green-black or green-blue, I'll likely splash it. I will go out of my way to draft around this. The effect is quite powerful. It's worth noting that landfall is a mechanic in this set. When you get this, you're going to want to draft Evolving Wilds pretty highly, and you can kind of work around that synergy where you're getting landfall triggers every turn from this thing with Evolving Wilds. Now, where to take it? I'm going to be taking it over probably everything to start a draft, just because I love drafting around these kind of cards, and from a I think the format's slow enough that this is just going to take over the game. It dodges enough of the removal, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I give this like a B plus probably across the board because it's 3 colors. Is the only reason I'm knocking it down. I'm not going to give it an A. I don't think it's quite up when it comes into play. It's hard to cast, but I think the card is quite powerful. And
we don't even have to give it in color grade because like you're never in 3 colors, or basically never in straight up 3 colors. So
no, you're more often like this is a card you are going to splash in a green black or green blue get it.
And it feels like
first pick it like I will be doing.
It feels like splashing is easier than in Dominaria, so that's good. But also the creatures are better. And it's amazing. There's also Evolving Wilds, so that's really nice. I love this. I love this in Dominaria. I love this kind of effects. My favorite thing in Limited is when, of course, this is a mythic, so blah blah blah. But when there is when I can play with my graveyard, because that just opens up a completely new dimension, right? You're playing with your hand. You're playing with your battlefield. With your deck, you're not playing. You're just drawing cards there. But then you're in Limited, right? But then you're also playing with your graveyard, which is like 50% more fun. It's also an amazing card.
Yeah.
B plus. I'm okay with B plus just because you gotta splash this one, right? So if it was in 2 colors, I'm on an A grade.
If it's just a green black card or green blue card, I might give it the bond designation. But the 3 colors make it a little bit prohibitive to.
Exactly. So that seems nice. On to the next one. We got Progenitus for 2 of each color. It's a 10/10 protection from everything. If it would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, reveal it and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. This is unplayable garbage in Limited. Literally unplayable. This is an F. You cannot make a deck that casts this well, that's a good deck, right?
I don't understand why this card is in the set.
It's a mythic, so
other than like, I guess it's a cool card for new players to open and be like, "Wow, what does this thing do?" I guess that's part of this, but it's been printed a gazillion. There was a promo of it that I probably have like a whole deck box full of from GPs or whatever, and it's not worth anything. I don't understand the inclusion of this card, but other than that, the cool factor, it is a cool card, but it's not playable really anywhere.
Yeah. I remember first time seeing this like a while back, and I was like, "Wow, this is the best."
Exactly. That's what I mean. That's the real reason for it, I think.
But you cannot. If somebody casts this against you, that's probably and they win. That is probably the only win they got in with that deck. So
when was this card first printed? I played this in the first. I cast it. I just spent the 10 mana and put it in play. I remember I did it.
This was 20 years ago. I don't know when was this printed.
Yeah, this was this. I can't remember the first.
It's
set.
gotta be. I think it's at least 20 years ago. But Shards of Alara, Gigi says.
Oh my god, that block! There was that one pack that was just all gold cards that gave me headaches. Just looking at the cards and just. Anyways.
I'll just play this. Okay, that's it for the multicolor cards. You got like 30 more minutes, right?
Yeah, about that. Yep. Then I gotta go get the kids.
Okay. Do you wanna start